no mountain high enough. Listening to Marvin Gaye. I love that song, but I love this man sitting beside me today. And we are here to share with you 52 years of marriage. Yesterday was our 52nd wedding anniversary. But Hank, before we do that, a very dear friend of yours transitioned over the weekend, who had been married to his beloved wife for 40-some years. And I think that we should at least share a little of that before we do this. A friend of mine said, please share your experiences with our people. There's so many of our children and people of all races getting divorces, and the divorce rate for Black Americans is even higher than many. So we will share that. But good morning, Hank. Good morning.
What you mean? A very good friend of mine. Lester was a very good friend of yours, because he always said, my attorney. My attorney. He said it with love and affection. I mean, he considered you a great friend, and you really considered him a great friend.
But y'all were especially close. And,
Lester.
Okay, I think I did it. Okay.
Anyway, Lester Brown was a true person. I mean, he was true to himself. He was true to his family. He was true to his community. He was true to his people. He was just a true person. And you know, he could interact with young folks on the street. He could act with powerful folks in the suite. He could interact with white folks and black folks. He could interact with old folks and young folks. He was just true to himself. And as a county commissioner, and as a board of education member, as a city council member of union, he was always true to himself. And Lester was a visionary, you know, but he didn't have an image of a visionary. But he could see things before they came into existence, and he could. But then he could work to make them, bring them into reality. Some people can see, but they can't bring in the reality. Others can bring in the reality, but they can't see. Lester could do both. He was just an extraordinary human being, and he all of a sudden now at 61. He wasn't expected to go, but he went. It just reminds us that yesterday is gone and today is all we have, because tomorrow is not promised.
Yes, and for those who are just joining us, Lester Brown, that's thanks to the county commissioner in Greene County, but more importantly, a servant, a true servant, transitioned late Friday night, and we are just going to miss Lester Brown. You may not have known him personally, but if you lived in Utah, if you lived in the Black Belt, if you lived in Alabama, you have been touched. Your life has been touched by Lester Brown. Yes.
Yes, and Lester was special, and he was always touching life.
Okay. Well, we're going to get this call, but we're going to, I'm not in my usual spot. Great morning, you're on the air. Hello? Hello, we're going to delay the calls. For about 30 minutes. I didn't mean to cut you off, caller, but I didn't know what I was doing. But we're going to delay the calls for about 30 minutes to share with you what
a friend of yours, a friend of ours, I guess.
Yes. Don't take that personal.
A friend of ours said that we should share, if you've been married 52 years, we ought to share exactly how that is done. So I agreed to come on Fire Spy this morning and discuss how we did these 52 years.
They were great years, but they were not perfect years. And we're here to tell it all. Well, not all of it. Some of it's quite personal. But we're going to tell as much as we can to share with you so that, especially young couples, saying, young couples who marry with this romantic notion that, you know, we're going to live happily forever. Not understanding that when you marry, you are imperfect and you are marrying an imperfect human being. And out of that imperfection can come a lasting relationship if you recognize those imperfections and try to deal with them in a way that is mutually beneficial. Would you say?
Right. Yes. Sometimes it's easy to recognize the imperfections in others. It's a lot harder to recognize the imperfections in oneself. And you have to be able to recognize both in order to be able to forge a union that will last.
Well, I think for the romantic at heart that people would like to know how this relationship began. And I first remember meeting you in 1965. I was in a summer program at Harvard Law School. And you were in a summer from Johnson C. Smith University, and you were in a summer program from Talladega College. Remember that?
Yes, we were in different summer programs. I was in a summer program in history. You were in a summer program in law in 1965.
And we didn't really know each other that well, but we knew each other we knew we were from Alabama. Yeah. And when you were in Cambridge, Massachusetts, up south, you are glad to meet somebody from Alabama. So, you know, we would have casual conversations, but nothing serious. As a matter of fact, you don't want me to tell this part, but I heard that you had gone to this wild beach party one night. I said, oh, goodness, you don't look like that type of man. You swear down it was not a wild beach party, but I'm so glad I wasn't invited. But that's when I think we
went to a beach party. It wasn't wild. What's the famous beach in Massachusetts? I can't think of the name. Where all them rich folks go.
Well, I never made it there. Hey. Yeah. So you must have had some rich friends, because I never made it there.
I didn't. None of us was rich. We just went.
But anyway, we had this small conversation. But when I went to law school back in '66, you were not there. I was ahead of you. Not because I was older, because I was smarter. Just kidding. His SAT score was much higher than mine, believe me. No.
Every joke there's a little bit of truth.
No. There was no truth in that joke. No. I may not see all my faults, all yours, but I know how smart you are. Well, anyway, when you came out, which was my second year in law school, we immediately connected, and you became my best friend, even though I had a best friend, Ruby Wharton, who I lived with, but you moved her out, and she still is a best friend. She is still a sincere friend years later, but you became my best friend.
Yes, and you became my best friend. We were best friends. There was no romance there. It was just a very close friendship. You could tell me anything, and I could tell you anything.
And you know, up to that point, I didn't share my feelings with most people, male or female. So you were the first person I could really open up to, which was important. But I'm going to tell you what was really funny for those of you who are listening. I didn't have a boyfriend, okay? And one day you told me, girl.
And I had a girlfriend.
You had a girlfriend. A girlfriend. Should I put an S on that?
No, it was a girlfriend.
Well, you said, girl, you need a boyfriend. I said, I do. Now, this is a man that has earned my confidence, right? So I'm listening to him. Because to me, he was the wise one, the wisest of us. And so I said, if my homeboy says I need a boyfriend, I'm going to find me a boyfriend. Well, there were several guys who have been trying to talk to me. So I decided, okay, I think this guy was from Chicago.
Thad, what's his name?
I think you called him Thug. Thad the Thug.
thug.
Well, anyway, I was so proud that I said, oh, my homeboy told me to get a boyfriend. And I got a boyfriend. And when you saw who that boy was, you remember what you said?
No, I don't remember.
Yes, you do. He is not the one.
Well, he had a reputation for being a thug, even though he was in Harvard Law School.
Well, now you have to understand that I'm taking this man very serious, my best friend. So if he tells me that Thad is the thug and he's not the one, hey Thad, go on with the win, right?
Yeah.
But the next guy I talked to was a friend of Hank's,
Sam.
Now it was his friend, so he couldn't say anything negative about Sam. But this is what I remember when Sam and I broke up our little short-lived romance. I said, "Oh, my heart is broken. I think I'm going to go to New York." I always gave to New York because I love Harlem. And then when I got to the bus station, my heart had mended quite fast. and I called Hank and said, hey, I ain't going to New York. I'm going back to the Tom. He said, "No, Rose, this is good. This is good. Go to New York. This is good. Don't let your heart be mended so fast." He just said no. Hank, you told me no.
I believe you. I just don't remember.
You said you were showing your woman emotions. You were proud of me that I could respond. But anyway, let's get to the heart of the story because, there's that phone. As I get that phone, let's move on to how we connected my last year in law school. You think you can get it? Okay.
Go ahead.
You tell the rest of the story. That was, I will say one thing. We became very close. I wanted to drop out of law school. We're in the middle of the movement. I said, I'm tired of this racist place. I'm going. My friend Ruby called you. You run to the dormitory at 1 o'clock in the morning. Where are you going? I said, I'm leaving this racist place. And you talked me into staying at Harvard. And we continued to be friends. And after I graduated, I came to tell you bye because I was going to Oakland Legal Services to work. Now, you tell the rest of the story, but don't you lie. Don't you exaggerate.
Well, you always disagree about that. But it was the summer of 1969. And I went back home to Baby Net. I was staying there, but I was working over in Mobile with the law firm of Vernon Crawford. And so you were getting ready to go. You had a job in Oakland, and you were getting ready to go to Oakland. And you were going there to spend, I guess that might be, that might have been the last time we would see each other. And so we went to a few places, and for I remember two of them. One time, my aunt named Gussie, she had a shop, and she would have food there, and I think she sold a little liquor on the side, and bootleg, and we would go to stop by in Gussie, because you stayed, I think, nearly a whole week. Anyway, when we would walk in, and Gussie would always say, "You want something to eat?" And I'd say, "Yes," and Faya would always say, "No." and then whenever I got this plate, she would start eating off it. So Aunt Gussie told my mama, say, they talking about they just friends. No, friends don't eat off each other's plate like that. So that was one thing, and we went out to this club in Mobile and Faya would always dance, duded out. You know, you couldn't get close to her. She would dude her butt out and be bent over, and so she had this. It wasn't a beer, a champagne. She had a champagne, and then she danced straight up.
All right, now from now on, y'all, the rest of the story just started. Okay, so let's move on.
Okay.
I know you're not going to tell that distorted part of the story. Let us just say, after that night, the relationship changed. Can we move on from there?
Yeah,
to get to
go
the
ahead.
heart of the matter. No, because I wanted to give that background, but we wanted to talk about how the marriage lasted. First, let me say, that first year was rocking. That first year was spent in Africa.
Well, let's talk about getting married before that. We just decided to. I went back to Harvard, and you went to New York. You canceled your job in Oakland, California, and then you
took a job with
took
the
a
National
job
Welfare Rights Organization
at Columbia University in New York, and so our relationship continued to mature, and then out of the clear blue, we just decided to get married. But
well, you did not get down on your knee and hand me no engagement ring.
I don't think that I asked you to marry me, and I don't think you asked me to marry you. We just decided that it's that one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. You continue to talk.
Push the thing right there. Push that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We're trying to handle the situation as best we can here. But anyway, we just decided we were going to get married. And what we did was we went to get married, and whenever the preacher asked us, do we have a marriage license?
We did have one.
Two Harvard Law School students. So we couldn't get married because you had to wait 3 days to get a license, and so we had to put it off, and then for a week and get because you had to take a blood test back at that time before you could get a marriage license.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. I'll never forget this because the week of our wedding, I get a letter from one of your best friends and one of my best friends. All of us hung out together at Harvard, and I got this letter from another mutual friend declaring his love for me too. So I had these two friends who were both, did I feel special, but I also felt like I was in a pickle. Now how am I going to deal with this? But to make a long story short, we did get married over my mother's objection. When you called her,
not over her objection, because you didn't call her until after we were married. None of your folks knew we would get married. None of my folks knew we would get married. We just ended up going ahead and getting married. And then you called your mama while we were still at the wedding and told her that you had got married, and after a while you put me on the phone and she said, I don't want you marrying my daughter.
But I think this is one of the first lessons of marriage too, is a wedding does not have to cost a lot of money. Our wedding cost us maybe $50. My wedding dress was $10. I had it made. I got the material 3 yards for $1, and somebody charged me $5 or $6 to make it. So the wedding was very simple. It was held at the home.
And the ring?
The ring was $50. I remember that.
Yeah.
We got it from Harvard Square. My little wedding ring was $50.
You didn't want diamonds. You wanted.
I never liked diamonds. I like gold. I like gold bands.
It wasn't gold.
Yes, it was.
No, it was.
No, Hank, it was gold.
It's a stone.
Hank, no, it was gold.
Okay.
It was on my finger. I know what it was.
Okay.
I picked it out. Did I pay for it? Did you pay for it? You
I'm sure I paid for it. No, I had a full scholarship.
Oh, that's right.
So
I told y'all he was
some
smart.
money.
He had a full scholarship.
I I had a scholarship, didn't have to pay any
Yeah, but
room,
scholarship.
board, everything.
I have a scholarship and I have money because I had a job.
Yeah.
I had a job in Ohio and New Jersey. People couldn't believe that. You mean you in Harvard Law School working in New Jersey and Ohio? Yes, y'all. I don't know. We can't control these phones at all. But anyway, I wish he was here, but we don't have nobody here.
Well,
Oh, boy.
okay.
Well, that's why we need people to support this station, y'all, so we can get a technician. Then we don't have to interrupt this valuable conversation. But I do want to get to, for the last 30 minutes, what are the ingredients of a marriage that can last 52 years? And it began with, to me, the friendship. The longevity of our marriage, to me, began with a strong friendship. And through trials and challenges, that friendship, to me, was the thing that held moments of doubt and struggle together.
What do you mean? No, you need to explain that.
Well, you know, after we spent a year in Africa, we married, spent a year in Africa, and several times you threatened to divorce me. Come on now, let's be real. You threatened to divorce me. And also, there were moments of doubt. Because that first year of marriage is, when you know someone as a friend, that's one thing. But when that relationship transcends into a romantic relationship and a marriage, it's another ending of the ball game. You know, that friendship is the foundation that can help you through the hurdles, but it's a different relationship. There's an added spectrum to that relationship that calls for a different kind of understanding, a different kind of reasoning, a different kind of love.
Well, that first year was difficult because we were in Africa and we, at the first time we really spent day in and day out, night in and night out together. When we first got married, you were still living in New York, and I was still in Cambridge for a whole semester. We got married on January 23rd, and so we had never lived together. It's one thing to love somebody, it's another one to live with
day
them.
and night.
Yeah.
Year after year for 52 years.
and so we had some struggles. Yeah.
But it's one incident I meant to tell about before we got married, and that was when we shared a common purpose. We shared a common love for our people. We were committed to struggling for our people. We were committed to using our Harvard Law degrees not for a selfish or personal end, but we knew that that we were not that special. That we were at Harvard by the grace of God, and that we were no smarter than thousands of black people who have been denied entry into any law school. In fact, Alabama would not allow us to go to law school in Alabama. Even though your board scores were high, we were at the top of our classes, but yes, your good old roll tide rolls on us and so many African Americans. But because we shared that common vision and mission, and that vision and mission led us to Detroit, where both of us was arrested in Aretha Franklin's church, where we thought we could be killed. And we returned to Harvard after that incident, even more determined to use our degrees to work for our people. To me, that was an element of the success of our marriage, that commonality of mission and purpose.
Yes, that was a very powerful experience, and sometime I want to share it in detail because it taught me about oppression, even within myself, and so it was a very powerful experience, and that was that was in '69. That was before our relationship became romantic. We were,
That was 68, wasn't it?
yeah, 68.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I only referred to that story to show that even before we married, we were connected in struggle. We would attend rallies together. We would discuss the problem together. We organized the Black Lawyers Association in Harvard together. You were one of the first presidents of it. So we had a united purpose even while we were in law school. That united purpose and that friendship to me was so foundational in this 52-year marriage.
It really was, because later on in marriage, just jumping ahead, but then we can jump back. I remember once I arrived at the airport. Once we were in Selma, I arrived at the airport and I was fitting to fly out. And then this man told me, he said, "Look, your wife flew out yesterday." She said, I see y'all both flying out, going in different directions. He said, "That must be bad for your marriage." I said, "No, brother, you don't understand. What would be bad for the marriage if one of us was at home mad because the other made a powerful difference?"
I'm remember what Mother just said to you once. It bothered her that I was gone so much. And she said, "You need to control that woman. You need to sit her down." So I tell that story humorously to say that one thing that kept the marriage together too is understanding and respecting our space. Even though we were going up the same mountain, we were going up different roads to get to that mountain. And there was a time when there was this pressure on black women to stand by your man. You know, I remember writing that song, "I Love My Black Man," just, you know, and so I was pulled between wanting my own freedom, my own independence, and also wanting to support this black man who had been so degraded and dehumanized, recognizing that I also had a history of dehumanization, but somehow black women at that time felt that we had to be the stronger ones. At least I did. And therefore...
When you say stronger, what do you mean? Do you mean more caring, or do you mean stronger?
Okay.
I just want to understand.
Okay.
And
let me carefully choose the right word. More compromising. I think that black women felt we had to be more compromising in relationships because we felt that because of sexism, we felt that we had to put ourselves second to the needs of the men in our lives. And even though that was contrary to my upbringing, because I had a mother that clearly told my father when he demanded that she serve him food one day, and she told him in no unequivocal terms, "You will not direct me or tell me what to do. I will serve you when I choose to serve you." And I remember that. But we don't have the time to completely explain it. But I do know, let me put it this way, I came to Selma because you wanted to come to Selma. And that was a part of this this struggle with women, black women particularly, to be a part of the justice system, to be a part of this system struggling for justice, but also recognizing how sexism had also been a crippling part of our lives.
Well, but let's put this in perspective. I wanted to go to Mobile because Mobile was 25 miles from Babynette, from my home. And you vetoed Mobile.
I did.
You vetoed Mobile.
You allowed me to veto Mobile.
No, I didn't allow you to. You vetoed Mobile. And so then we were up in Huntsville working with Madison County Legal Aid, and we saw that they only wanted us to deal with evictions and that kind of thing. And we said, well, we didn't go to law school to just deal with eviction. We had to fight these huge fights. Anyway, but that was a decisive moment in the marriage. But we was trying to reach a compromise because I had this feeling that we should go to Selma, and we reached a compromise that we would go to Selma for the first 5 years, and we would decide. I would decide where we would go in the first 5 years, and then after 5 years, you would decide where we would go. And so we ended up in Selma for 5 years, but after 5 years, it was your time to decide.
Okay. It's just like that football game last night. when the team that won had the first choice, the first decision.
You're talking about in the overtime.
In the overtime.
But all the time it passed.
No. They won because of a flip of a coin.
The other team had the ball first at the very beginning of the game. So, no, but you really vetoed Mobile. And that's where I really wanted to go. So that was fine. But whenever we...
Just let it ring.
Yeah, but whenever we reached the point of coming to Selma, that was sort of a spiritual experience. And it won't take but a moment to say this. We went to...
Keep talking.
Okay. Well, what we agreed we were going to find a place in Alabama, and we had driven. We drove to Montgomery, to Tuskegee, to Bessemer.
They said they cannot hear you. They said they cannot hear us.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they can't hear us.
Okay.
I got a text from someone saying they can't hear us.
Okay.
I don't know how to deal with this. Evidently, somebody on Facebook can hear us.
Yeah.
If you cannot hear us, please call us. There's no technician in the building. It's just Hank and I, so please call us. Okay, Hank, we have 20 minutes. Okay.
Well, the long and short of it, now, consideration.
Still cannot hear us. I don't understand it.
Okay. And so, anyway, you.
Keep talking, Hank.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay. Well.
Okay. Thank you. She can hear us, Hank.
Faya says that she came to Selma and didn't want to come to Selma. So I want to put this in context because consideration is real important.
They can hear you, they can't hear me.
Okay. Consideration was real important. Consideration was real important. And I want to make that point. You said you ended up in Selma and didn't want to come. But I had been considerate when you didn't want to go to Mobile. And because you didn't want to go to Mobile, and now I wanted to go to Selma, and I had wanted to go to Mobile, you were considerate. So consider that.
We'll accept that and move on. We got 60 more minutes to talk about so much more. Consideration is important in a marriage. As a matter of fact, I put consideration above communication. I know a lot of people say, well, without communication, there cannot be a good marriage or lasting relationship of any kind. And the truth is, communication is a part of consideration. The problem is, consideration sometimes is nonverbal communication. It's a sense of what a person needs, what a person what's in the best interest of that person. And so therefore you have to balance. Sometimes you have to make decisions that, this is important to me, but it's more important to my partner. I want to do this, but what my partner wants to do is even more important. And when you care for people, you're able to balance those differences and decide, well, is this something I can compromise? Is this more likely to make him happy or me unhappy? And that's why I think consideration is probably one of the most important ingredients of marriage.
But let's talk about consideration when the 5 years was up, because I was willing to keep. My commitment. The phone is ringing and we don't have anybody here, and we're struggling here.
Dr. White wants just to wish us a happy anniversary. Dr. White, you still there? Hello? Okay, I'm gonna put you on real quickly. Hello? Okay, we can hear you.
Hey, I just want to wish y'all a happy anniversary. And let me just solve this problem right now, okay? And Brother Hank, I'm sure you can agree with this. If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, oh baby, bring it to me. Bring your sweet loving. Bring it on home to me. I think.
Well, you know what, Doc? I knew you were a lawyer, philosopher, teacher. I did not know you were a singer. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Hey, and Lou Long would have backed me up.
Yeah. We're going to back you up, too. Yeah.
All right, happy anniversary. We loving this history, so keep talking.
Okay. I'm asking people, it's hard for me to run back and forth to the phone, so if y'all would withhold the calls, we only have like 14 minutes, and there's some things we haven't gotten into, like raising children, household chores. Again, to me, consideration is very important. Respect, of course, is always. And to me, respect is an integral part of consideration, because if you are considerate of a person, it's because you respect them. It's because you understand whether it's verbal or nonverbal communication. You understand some of their needs. You'll never understand. Number one, you will never understand your partner. You will never know all of the thoughts and the feelings, the dreams and desires of your partner, because I wrote about this thing a few nights ago. Nobody knows but me. My story is my story. His story is his story. And we have our own story. That it's a shared story, but in the long run, each of us have our own story, our own lives, our own failures, our own desires. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. We're imperfect. If you're an imperfect person, you cannot have a perfect relationship. If you're imperfect and if you're human, your partner is going to be imperfect and human. And many times young people go into marriages with this fantasy idea of romance, thinking that they really can marry their Prince Charming and live forever happily, forever after.
Yes, that's true. Well, you said let's talk about the children, and we need to talk about the different organizations, because there were things that I took the lead in, and there were things that you took the lead in. When you took the lead in something, I supported you. And when I took the lead in something, you supported me. I took the lead in the law firm, and you supported me in that. You were in the law firm, and you were a part of it, but I took the lead. And so whoever's taking the lead, you have to give a benefit of the doubt to them.
Thank you for coming. We were having problems. Dr. Feelgood is here.
And I took the lead in work with Alabama New South, and I took the lead in the Alabama Senate, and you supported me. But you took the lead in so many things. You took the lead in the Black Belt Arts and Culture Center,
21st Century,
and 21st Century, and just in all of these different things.
Ridge Cross and Jubilee.
And I supported you. So the consideration goes both ways. but and so anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we only have a few minutes left. We really have to carry up this conversation another time, but
Go ahead.
But
I'm here now.
you're here. We had so much fun without you.
But I'm here. I'm here now.
You realize we needed you, right?
Yeah, I tell Rise I gotta go now.
But see, that's important in marriage too.
Go ahead.
You say you know someone walks out on their own or pursues something, and you left, and you're saying, "Oh, I can handle this," but when your partner sees you need help, they come back. Just like you came back, not to feel good. They come back.
Yeah.
Hank, what I really admired about you too. Let me finish this point. What I really admired too, we had people coming in and out of our home a lot. And I remember when we lived on Union Street, we had a lot of people. Even Stokely Carmichael came in and out. James Orange, all these people. And
Willie Rick. Everybody was.
But I remember some of the men, the civil rights men, they noticed you washing the dishes and washing clothes, and that bewildered them. And some comments were made. Do you remember that?
Yeah, what I figured is that if I'm married to this woman working like I'm working, then I have some. I can't put all of the responsibilities on her for the house and the children. That's just basically unfair. So if she cooked, then I wash dishes, and I learned to help in other things. If for some reason she was out of town, then I went home early and prepared for the children. I didn't have but one.
You had two dishes.
Two dishes.
One for breakfast and one for dinner and lunch. Pancakes and
banana pancakes
and mackerel rice.
Umoja.
He gave it a fancy name, but it was mackerel rice.
but I could hit the house, and in 17 minutes I could have it ready. So anyway, but I think it's a basic sense of fairness. So if we men say, is this fair, that the woman does all of the housework and have a job too, that's a basic question you have to ask to be able to get along. What's fair?
I'm going to make a quick diversion. There's a movie called Fatuma. It's an African movie. It brings out this point so thoroughly where these women had to do all the farm work, all the hard work, until the man realized that it was unfair. But going back to you, what amazed me is about the men who live with us. They criticized you for it. They saw that as weakness. They saw that as you making it
not being manly.
But our son learned that lesson from you. So our son, at least the biological son, was more of an equal partner in his marriage than many marriages that I see. People may not believe this, but I don't wash sheets. Our sheets get washed every week. Hank washes the sheets. I never washed his clothes. Maybe at the beginning. He washes his own clothes. He irons his own clothes. I iron my clothes. I wash my clothes. And somebody might say, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, when I was washing mine, no, you used to wash clothes, all the clothes, but you didn't wash them on time. So I said, if I want them on time, I need to do something. But
is that why you started washing your own clothes? I didn't remember that.
But then I said, well, I'm willing to wash your clothes. But since I put everything in there one together, you said don't wash mine. I wash mine.
Man, you actually wash clothes better than me. I noticed how better your clothes look compared to mine. But anyway, those are just some practical things that we worked out without even a discussion.
Yeah.
There was no discussion. You do this, you do that, out of consideration.
That consideration is really important, and we need to talk more about that consideration, because it's consideration in the work, it's consideration in the children, it's consideration in the home, it's consideration in organization, it's consideration. So if you say what's fair, in addition to being considerate, because consideration go beyond what's fair. Consideration goes to what's important to the other person.
I remember I used to handle the finances, and I was bad at it. Really? I mean, our handling finances, and I did not do well.
No, what happened was I was handling the finances, and you felt that was sexist. that I was handling all of the finances. So you said you wanted to handle the finances, and so I turned the finances over to you to pay the bill. None of the bills.
No.
The bills didn't get paid.
That's not true. They were paid. They were not paid on time, but they were paid. Now, let's not exaggerate. Okay. No, but I found out, you're right. I reacted to sexism by saying, why is it that men has to always deal with finance? But I found out that was something I was not able to do well. So I said, you know what? Whether it's sexist or not, I ain't handling the finances anymore. You know. We only have 7 more minutes. You have a caller?
Max, he told me to tell y'all happy anniversary too.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
Hey, let's talk about child rearing
Okay.
real quickly. We only have, I know you got to
Okay,
leave.
go
You
ahead.
got some important things to do. Well, you know, we had 3 children. I got to tell y'all this story. Our second son, our only son, by birth. I never prepared for birth. I've always been untraditional, which did not bother you, by the way. You know, I didn't have no bad pat ready to go to the hospital. When I went to labor, you took me down on Franklin Street to the office of Dr. Howard. And there I was, with no medication, no anesthesia, giving birth.
But you had made a decision
No, I didn't.
to have natural birth.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes.
Hey, no, this is my body. I did not make the decision to have no natural birth. You are dead wrong.
Okay, go ahead.
I expected some anesthesia, painkillers. So we got there, and there was this other woman in his office, and she was just praying.
She was giving birth.
She was giving birth, just screaming and calling on Jesus, Jesus. And I kept asking, Doctor, you must not have been listening, honey, because I kept asking her something. Just give me an aspirin, a whole bottle full of aspirins, anything to stop this pain. So I began to curse like a sailor. Mind you, my husband not used to me using profanity.
I had never heard you curse.
Boy, he was embarrassed. I was in pain, and he was embarrassed because I was cursing like a sailor.
But I didn't even know you knew all them words.
When that pain was in there, she said, "My will."
I tell you that thing, it was so funny. I was so unprepared for this birth that I had to rep Doc in some paper towels to take him out of the doctor's office once he was
Take
born.
him home.
But anyway, the children, raising the children, I had the major responsibility of doing that.
Yeah.
I think it became natural to me. It's not that you weren't helpful, but I had the major responsibility of raising
you
the
took
children.
the lead in
I
that.
took the lead in that.
Yeah.
So what pointers would you give to men about raising children in a marriage? And
Well, although you took the lead in it, I knew that there were times that it was unfair for you to have to do everything. So you took the lead, and I was supportive wherever I thought I needed to be, or wherever you said I needed to be. And I think men have to be more supportive in raising children, and sometimes men have to take the lead in raising children.
like my brother Harold,
Yeah.
who was one of your best friends. Thinking of our dear friend that we lost. Harold was a good friend of yours, and but he raised his son Kenyatta. At some point, they actually stayed in our home.
Yeah.
Another thing I really loved about you, Hank, not once did you ever say that a person could not come to live with us. I remember a Japanese guy who worked at McRae. You came home, and I came home and found you and this Japanese guy I just can remember him nodding his head, and I don't know if you knew what he was talking about. And
No, somebody come all the way from Japan and supposed to be living with us, and I didn't even know it. You hadn't even mentioned it to me because they were going to teach at McRae. And so
I did not know he was going to live with us either. Now, let's get it straight. You don't know all the facts. He was supposed to live with someone else, and that fell through. So he was just at my house, our house temporarily. But he ended up staying with us. And you never objected. You never said negative. You never said he has to go. And that was true of the scores of people that came to live with us.
Well, you know, not only did people come through and live with us, I mean, that was just a part of the existence. It wasn't something I would have done. But I remember once you told James Orange that a group of civil rights people could live with us, that come through and they could spend a week. And he had 31 people. And at the same time, you had told Maria from Africa, she and her delegation could live with us, and it was 23 of them. So that's a total of 55 folks that she had told could live with us. And so what happened was, you know, we even had to. I think we got up in the loft, even in our own room, but it worked out. The men went out in that little house that we have there, and the women had the rest of the house. And one day the civil rights folks would cook, and next day the people from West Africa would cook. It was some of the best food we had. And we made it work. And
we have only 1 minute left, and I think we got to deal with the issue of intimacy. And it's kind of hard to do in a minute. But I wanted to say before that, I remember our children when we were asked by the welfare department to take in these two boys. And right by that, Kandaka was a teen, 12 years old, Malika. It's like we both agreed we can't possibly take in two children, 12 and 14, with our own children going through the teen crisis. And I remember our children, when we talked to them about it, they said to us, "You've taught us all our lives to be fair. How can you separate these boys? How can you take one?" Remember that? Without taking both.
How can you not take
both of them, which we did. Well, Hank, maybe we've been saved by time. We wanted to talk about intimacy, but the time is up. And that was going to be the hardest thing to talk about. But let me say this about intimacy. I came into this marriage very inexperienced. And to have a partner who was very patient and creative was a blessing. And intimacy is important in a marriage and in a partnership. I didn't just say sex. Sex is a part of intimacy. And I think too many men don't understand the difference. I remember a scene in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy, where this man is having sex with this woman, and she's like, what in the hell is he doing? She's just laying there in utter disdain, and he's just going off, right? And to me, that visual picture captured what happens in a lot of relationships. When men do not have the patience or the creativity consideration. There's that word again. At every end of the spectrum, consideration is key. And intimacy, to me, is also the glue that keeps a marriage together. Your final comments.
Well, I wish that this is part of something that Value wanted to do as part of our 52nd anniversary, and I was considerate, so I'm here.
And I'm being considerate because he told me he had to leave at 9 o'clock. So with that, thank you for coming back in time to do that. And I would like to say to the young married couples out there, Hank and I are extremely busy, but if there are those of you who think you could benefit from a session, a private session with us, we'll find time to do it. Because the divorce rate among our people is extremely high. And as Dr. White constantly tells us, family is the foundation of our liberation. Without family, we would be in great trouble. I have one last announcement to make. As Hank exits, thank you. By the time you get to the car, I will be there. Thank you, my dear, for being considerate. I want everybody to look at a TV special on traffic stops. It's going to be on CNN Sunday at 8 o'clock. We didn't have time to discuss the Sunday school lesson about justice and judges. But there are a lot of illegal traffic stops resulting in the arrest of too many people in our communities. And this special is a nationwide special. And I think for those of you who think I'm being overcritical of Mr. Grantham and some of our judges, check out that national crisis next Sunday at 8 o'clock on CNN. And with that, what are we going to end this show with?
I was on my way back. I'm going to do a Sam Cooke. I'll bring it on home.
Bring it on home. All right. Thank y'all for listening. Remember, our power is in our unity. Even the marriage, the power of marriage is in our unity. When we know each other, when we know who God intended all of us to be. Have a blessed day.
Fine.